What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Frankie. Since I came out of the closet in support of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, the number of insults that have been hurled at me is mind numbing. I have been called self loathing. I have had people report me to ICE. And more recently, and probably more concerning, I actually had somebody celebrating that I would receive eternal damnation because of my sexuality. And so it's no secret that conservatives are usually painted, not usually, are by rule, by law, I guess, painted as Nazis by the liberal movement. Any conservative that runs for office ever is always going to be called a Nazi. I happen to get called a Nazi a lot these days. These insults, I decided I was going to give them some credence and sort of study if I'm missing anything. I like to think of myself as a man in search of truth, and in that search, I'm open to the possibility of being wrong. And so I went back into a study of Nazism, World War II, and the Holocaust. And I had to make this rather long video to sort of share with you what I have found. Now, I'm an outsider speaking about an ancient people and about a tragedy of unimaginable proportions that is intensely personal to so many. I have no memories of parents or children or uncles or cousins caught up in or destroyed by the horrors of the Holocaust. I have not even the distinctive appreciation of evil that must come from knowing that 6 million people were killed for no other reason than because they had blood like yours. More difficult even is that I'm not a Jew, but I am a Christian, and I know that anti-Semitism of many of my uncomprehending co-religionists over many centuries helped set the stage that made this tragedy and produced the National Socialists. I say uncomprehending because it is particularly absurd for a Christian to hate the people of Israel, that is, to hate one's spiritual parents and also to sever one's roots. I've always been drawn in by the stories of World War II, how the U.S. was drawn into the war, how the U.S. providentially arrived at victory in the war, and the untold horrors that were discovered within the concentration camps after the defeat of the National Socialists, who were also known as the Nazis. I will never forget the impression, the stories I read in my books and heard in documentaries. I believe that if some playwright or novelist had invented such a tale of insanity and diabolical cruelty, none of us would ever believe that it could happen. And the big message that I want to convey today as I compare and contrast Germany from 100 years ago to America today is that we will have missed the most frightening aspect of all if we do not appreciate that the Holocaust happened in one of the most educated, most progressive, most cultured countries in the world. The Germany of the 1920s and 1930s was a world leader in most fields of art and science and intellect. Berlin was a center of theater. It boasted 3 opera houses, and in Germany as a whole, there were 80 of these. Every middle-sized city had its own orchestra. German poets and writers were winning Nobel Prizes in the 20s. In architecture, Germany was at the cutting edge. And in science, of course, the Germans were preeminent. To quote an article in the Journal of American Medical Association from 1933, when the National Socialist Party came to power in Germany, the biomedical enterprise in that country was among the most sophisticated in the world. German contributions in the field of biochemistry, physiology, medicine, surgery, and public health, as well as the clinical training that had shaped to an important degree the academic and practice patterns of the time, and clinical training and research experience in the great German clinics and laboratories had been widely sought for decades by physicians and basic scientists from around the world. To fully grasp the horror of the Holocaust, you must imagine, for it actually probably happened, that the commandant of, Auschwitz, when he had finished his day's work, retired to his apartment to eat a meal that was in finest good taste and listen to the most inspired music, enjoyed probably some of the most inspiring art. How much stock we place in education, intellect, cultural refinement, and how much of our substance we are prepared to expend to give to our children the very best opportunity to acquire education, intellect, cultural refinement. Yet those qualities are only of secondary importance to our children and to the society that their generations will create. To quote John Henry Newman, long before the Holocaust could even have been imagined, he said, "Knowledge is one thing, virtue is another. Good sense is not conscious refinement. It is not humility. Liberal education makes the gentleman, and it is well to be a gentleman. It is well to have a cultivated intellect, a delicate taste, and a candid, equitable, dispassionate mind, a noble and courteous bearing in the conduct of life. These are clear-cut qualities of a large knowledge. They are the objects of a university, but they are no guarantee of sanctity or even conscientious. Those qualities may attach to the man of the world, to the wicked, to the heartless, yes, even to the heartless. It's important that we continue to honor the memory of the 6 million Jews and 3 to 4 million poor souls caught up in this 20th century terror, but also by keeping the memory of their tragedy painfully alive to prevent its happening again. The latter can be achieved only by acknowledging and passing to our children the existence of absolute, uncompromisable standards of human conduct. Mankind has traditionally derived such standards from religion, and the West has derived them from and through the Jews. Those absolute and uncompromisable standards of human conduct will not endure without an effort to make them endure. And it is to that enterprise that we must rededicate ourselves in this age. Those standards are in the Decalogue, and they are in the question put and answered by Micah. What doth the Lord require of thee but to act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with thy God? And for those 6 million Jews to whom it was not done justly, who were not shown mercy, and for whom God and his laws were abandoned, may we remember them, their suffering, and may they rest in peace.